All right, so let me talk to you real quick, and I'm going to explain this slow, like nobody watching has any clue what's going on. Because what just happened with MSNBC isn't just a name change, it ain't just a logo switch, it's not just another media story either. What we just witnessed is a full blown rejection, a breakup, a fall from grace, a corporate we don't claim you moment, and the way the media is trying to spin it, it's pathetic. So here's the deal. MSNBC is officially changing its name to MS now. And they're dropping the NBC part. No more Peacock logo, no more NBC association. Is gone. Cut off. The name is stripped like a jersey after a scandal. But don't let the marketing spin fool you because this isn't rebranding for growth, as they like to call it. This is a company getting kicked out of the house and trying to act like it moved out on purpose. So, before I go deeper and giving my thoughts and also having a valuable conversation with you guys, I want you guys to see something before we read this article, and which led to this rabbit hole of why they're in this situation in the first place. Check it
They
out.
can't fix the history they did. Their ancestors made this country into a slave hell. But they can clean it up now because they got the Smithsonian. They can get rid of all the slavery stuff. They got PragerU. They can lie about the history to the children. They can't originally invent anything more than they ever were able to invent good music. We black folk gave y'all country music, hip hop, R&B, jazz, rock and roll. They couldn't even invent that, but they have to call a white man the king because they couldn't make rock and roll. So they have to stamp the king on a man whose main song was stolen from an overweight black woman.
All right. So, that's one clip I wanted to share with you guys. Now, and as you guys see in the article, it says NBC dropped its name from MSNBC as ratings plummet, network to become MS now. It says the longtime liberal cable channel MSNBC is about to undergo the biggest change in its nearly 3 decade history. According to a new report from CNBC, Comcast is spinning the network out in a separate company and rebranding it as MS now, removing all connections to NBC, even ditching the famous Peacock logo. So, the rebrand goodbye MSNBC, hello MS Now. The MSNBC launched in 1996 as a joint venture between NBC and Microsoft. With the name itself being a combination of the two brands, Microsoft eventually left the partnership, but the NBC name and its prestige remained tied to the cable channel. That is now coming to an end. And later this year, MSNBC will relaunch as MS Now, short for My Source News Opinion World. The iconic NBC Peacock will be stripped from the logo, and the network will attempt to sell audiences on a refreshed identity through an aggressive marketing campaign. Executives insist that the on-air lineup will stay intact. Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell, Joe Scarborough, Ari Melber, and the other marquee personalities are expected to continue leading the prime time in morning blocks. But the question remains, will changing the sign outside the building fix the channel's fundamental problems? And as it reads, the corporate shuffle, Comcast creates Versant. This move comes as part of a larger corporate restructuring. Comcast is spinning off MSNBC, CNBC, USA, Oxygen Golf Channel, and several other legacy cable outlets into a new standalone company called Versant. Versant will be a separate publicly traded entity, giving these aging cable networks room to operate without dragging down NBC Universal's broader film, streaming, and theme park business. Comcast and NBC Universal keep their crown jewels, NBC News, Universal Pictures, and Peacock, while Versant inherits the struggling cable bundle that few Americans are paying for every year. So, it says declining reach and relevance. As its peaks during the first Trump administration, MSNBC was a ratings juggernaut for left leaning audiences hungry for resistance coverage. But those days are long gone. Over the past decade, the network has seen its pay TV reach collapse by more than 33%. Cord cutting has gutted the business model, while younger viewers increasingly bypass cable altogether in favor of digital first platforms. Meanwhile, competition from Fox News on the right and CNN on the left, space has squeezed MSNBC into a narrow ideological corner. While it remains the second most watched cable news outlet, it has a larger audience than CNN, which isn't saying much. Its total audience is a fraction of what it once was. Simply put, MSNBC's best days are behind it, and NBC clearly knows that. And it says a name change with heavy baggage. Rebecca Cutler, president of MSNBC, acknowledged in an internal memo that this change will be difficult for a longtime staff and viewers. For many of you who have spent years or decades here, it is hard to imagine a network by any other name, she said. Cutler also stressed that this was not a rash decision, emphasizing the planning behind the rebrand. Still, one can't ignore the timing. When a network that has been synonymous with MSC for decades suddenly drops the NBC branding, it's a sign of serious identity trouble. And I want to end it there. You guys can read the rest of the article. But now, this is what I want to touch on, right? So, this is a company getting kicked out of the house and trying to act like it moved out on purpose. NBC, the parent company, basically said MSNBC is too embarrassing to be tied to us anymore. And you know how toxic you got to be for your own brand family to be like, yeah, we don't need your last name anymore. That's a public disowning. That's a corporate DNA test that came back basically saying, not our kid. Now, the folks at MSNBC, MS now, are trying to make it sound cute. Oh, this is about independence. This is a fresh start. We're entering a new chapter. Nah, you're just getting evicted with a smile on your face. NBC took the keys, took the name, and said, y'all figure it out on y'all damn own. But hold up, let's break this thing down all the way because I'm not just here to make jokes. Because I really want y'all to understand what's happening, why this is happening, and what it tells us about the bigger picture. So let's talk about rebrands, right? What's the deal with companies changing names like this? From a business perspective, why do they do it? Because I don't want to give you a general surface level fluff like, oh, it's just part of a new strategy. Nah, I'm going to give you value, real game from a real business logic, business perspective. And I want you to remember this for any time you see a brand flip its name, logo, colors, the whole identity. Companies rebrand when something is broken. Period. That's the core of it. When your brand is no longer working, when people don't trust it, and when the money's drying up, and when your reputation is in the toilet, you rebrand to survive. So let's go over why companies rebrand one by one, because I want you thinking the next time you see this kind of move. First reason, the brand is toxic. Straight up. The name itself has too much baggage. It's become a punchline, a meme, a stain on the company. And no amount of PR can fix that. So the only option, scrap it, start over, call it something else, and hope people forget it. That's what's happening here. MSNBC became too toxic. They were known for peddling hoax, pushing fear, and acting like the PR department for the DNC, the Democratic National Convention. And after years of losing trust, losing ratings, and losing relevance, even NBC said, yo, this ain't it. If you just seen that first clip that I showed you guys with Joy Taylor, who was and is a former employee of MSNBC, she pushed things that were very divisive, disgusting, bad attitude. And to put it another way, pushing separation while also hateful rhetoric that divides the country instead of unite. And people is tired of it. And it doesn't even bring real solutions. It just brings anger, fury, with no real critical thinking, common sense, thought provoking conversation that actually is viable for the American citizens and everyday average Joe. Just talking about yesteryear and trying to stay on a Democratic plantation is not going to cut it. So now I want to give you guys a second reason why companies rebrand, right? The business model is failing. People aren't watching cable news like they used to. Viewership is down and revenue is down. And MSNBC isn't what it used to be during peak Trump hysteria. Remember back when Trump lived rent free in every segment? Even like someone like the clip I showed you with Joy Taylor when she was on MSNBC, that's when they were winning. But now cord cutting is real. People are leaving cable. They're screaming. They're watching YouTube, listening to podcasts, just like this one. And MSNBC can't keep up. They're competing with screamers and podcasters and other people on YouTube because now their numbers and their viewership have to basically now, by demand or by popular demand, because the market will determine where the viewers go, they have to compete with a regular average Joe who resonates with the people like YouTubers, right? Podcasters, like I mentioned. So MSNBC just can't keep up. So NBC looked at the numbers and said, "We're not gonna let this dead weight drag us down." And that's why they're not just renaming MSNBC. They're spinning it off. They're making it his own company called Versant, alongside other legacy networks like USA, Oxygen, Golf Channel, CNBC. Basically everything that's outdated and underperforming, and that's where MS Now is headed. So let me give you the analogy. This is like when you take everything in the fridge that's close to expiring, toss it into a soup pot, and call it new. That's what Comcast did. They threw all the struggling channels into a new bucket and called it for sign and said, "Good luck, y'all." And when you think about it, the company, MSNBC, is trying to escape its own history because MSNBC history is ugly. Years of pushing fake narratives, dividing Americans, going full activists instead of journalists, just reporting the news for what it is. And now they're trying to act like MS Now is a clean slate. Nah, you don't get to wipe the slate clean when the people who caused the mess are still running the show. Joy Taylor may not be on the show, but it's individuals that still spew that same type of rhetoric that is still on the show besides Joy Taylor. I just used her as an example. But the internet is forever. So once you say something, we could just pull it up now. Receipts is everything, baby. So you can't, there's nothing you can do. You can't wipe out the history. This ain't back in the yesteryear when we couldn't have proof and receipts. So now they're trying to act like MS is a clean slate, MS Now, and Rachel Maddow's still there, Joe Scarborough's still there, Lawrence O'Donnell's still there, the whole clown car. Same talking points, same woke nonsense, same smug faces pretending they're speaking truth to power when they are the power. So what's new? Nothing but the name. It's lipstick on a pig, right? That's just what it is. Or put it like that, it's a clown in a circus. I don't care how you dress up, anything, but the context and how it's actually being pushed and the value behind it matters. So when you look at it, when it comes to big companies and they rebrand, when they're prepping to be sold off or go public, they want a clean image. They want to look lean, fresh, and separate from the drama. And NBC knows their valuable assets, Universal, Peacock, theme parks, all of that need to look good on paper. So they push MSNBC out the back door like a side chick they tired of explaining. And that's what this is, a corporate breakup disguised as a rebrand. And I want you to notice the timing too. This isn't random. We're heading into a new election year. The media is under the microscope. People are sick of the lies. MSNBC, sorry, MS Now, knows they lost the people. The only folks still tuning in are the Twitter addicts and college professors. Some college professors, I should say. The ones they put on the national TV on MSNBC or MS Now to basically push their rhetoric. But they only want people that agree with them to speak. So the rest of America is watching elsewhere. And this is what happens when you build your brand off of Trump derangement syndrome instead of just speaking the truth and reporting the news for what it is. And when you let your entire identity revolve around hating one man, what happens when that man's no longer in the headlines 24/7? You crumble and you don't stand for anything and you just react, and eventually the people stop watching and now they want to act independent. So you just need to stop it because you're independent from what? MS Now is just the same Democratic echo chamber with a worse name. And yes, it is a worse name. My source for news opinion in the world. That sounds like a knockoff mobile news app you delete after one use. So someone in the branding got paid six figures for that trash. Matter of fact, we just called it what it is. It's bullcrap. And because that's what you're getting. On demand in HD. Now look, I'm not here to roast them. I'm here to make a bigger point. This whole thing is a sign that the old media machine is breaking down. And the trust is gone and the control is slipping. And people want real voices, real commentary, real breakdowns they can understand, not some scripted propaganda from overpaid elitists who never leave the studio. So now I want you guys to see MSNBC's own reaction to them now being called MS Now.
All right, we have breaking news as it pertains to our network. This morning, a new name for the network by the end of the year. We will become MS Now, which stands for My Source for News, Opinion, and the World. And look, Andrew, they even have a graphic up. I like it.
There it is.
Actually,
the new logo.
It looks very sporty. As we go to Versant, we're going to be moving in this direction. MS Now, which I got to say, I got a call yesterday afternoon, and they're saying, "We hope you're okay. We're going." I was like, "What do you mean? Like this shows we're independent." And what I've said on this show time and time again is you look at the people that are running the company, they're entrepreneurial.
Right.
Like when you have somebody come into your company after working for like big corporations and you're talking, you're saying, and they go, "We want you to be entrepreneurial. We want you to come up with new ideas. We want you to push the boundaries." I'm excited about that. So I'm excited about this too. It's like, what's in a name? Well, whatever you put into the name.
Well, look, my understanding is this decision was a choice by NBC Universal.
Right.
Remember, originally they were going to leave the Peacock with the different units.
Right.
They decided that they wanted that to stay with NBC Universal. Having said that, despite my sentimentality about the Peacock, I've always loved the Peacock.
Yeah.
The truth is, I've always thought about this network and CNBC and USA and actually all of those assets as insurgent networks.
Right.
This is an insurgent network, and I love the idea, to be honest with you. You can take out your salt shaker or whatever you want to do and say, take it with a grain of salt. But I like this because I think it actually does have the sort of independence and actually gets away in some ways from even the idea of legacy media.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think what you're seeing MS do and what you're seeing some of these other networks do now is not just linear, but by the way, I'm watching you on TikTok now. Do you know that? Do you know I'm seeing you on TikTok?
So this is a thing, and of course, because I'm hip with the kids, people,
I know.
I actually didn't know this.
And the sarcasm, he's on TikTok now. Basically, family, MSNBC was the warning. Now MS Now is the consequence. And now they're here trying to peddle with no oars, begging for viewers, going on TikTok now, hoping that a fresh coat of paint will hide the cracks in the foundation. But here's the truth. If the foundation is rotten, the paint don't matter. You can change the name, you can change the font, you can run a rebrand campaign. But if you haven't changed your values, it's over. So yeah, this ain't evolution, it's desperation. And the only question left is, how much longer can bullcrap now survive without NBC carrying them on their back? I don't know. But I do know this. People waking up to the reality of things. They're watching creators like me. They're listening, thinking, learning. And that's what scares these legacy networks the most. You are getting smarter. You're seeing the play in the games that they play, and you're choosing to unplug from the nonsense. So stay sharp, stay free, do your own research, actually utilize your critical thinking because they don't want you to. And most of all, keep asking questions because the truth don't need a rebrand. Peace.